we'll punish tax dodgers, you've said. Should you perhaps start with Angela Rayner?
Well, look, Angela Rayner has answered all the questions that have been put to her. I'm confident she's done nothing wrong. But what this is about is saying that as working people across the country are paying more and more taxes, with frankly the tax burden set to be its highest in 70 years, it is wrong that a minority are failing to pay their fair share. And that's why we set out our plans to close the loopholes which the government is leaving open for non-DOMs as part of a wider plan to invest in HMRC to close the tax gap. And that money, as you rightly said, will go towards our promises on the NHS and breakfast clubs.
James, we don't know whether Angela Rayner has paid her fair share, and actually the former chief prosecutor of this country, Keir Starmer, who's the leader of the Labour Party and probably the next Prime Minister, hasn't even read the legal advice that she's given, that you say completely clears her. Why is he so incurious?
Well, look, Angela has answered questions about this matter over recent weeks. I'm confident she's done nothing wrong.
When was the last time she was at a Labour event and took questions from journalists? Because I don't think that's been the case for a number of days.
Well, frankly, I'm confident she's done nothing wrong. And if you look at why this matter is being focused on, I think by the Conservatives in particular, it's no doubt to distract attention from their record in office. And
look what we're talking about today. We're talking about the fact. She shouldn't be subject to scrutiny. You're going to be the next government, probably.
We're talking about the fact that the Conservatives are leaving open loopholes, which mean that people who are non-DOMs will avoid paying hundreds of millions, billions of pounds of tax over the next Parliament because of loopholes the government are leaving in place. These are part of our really important plans to close the tax gap and to make sure that we get more revenue for public services. And that money can be spent on the NHS and breakfast clubs.
We understand that, James, but I think the point we're trying to make here is if Angela has done nothing wrong and she has received that tax advice, why not just release it in order to make this story go away?
Well, look, as Angela said, if other people publish theirs, then she'll publish hers. But she's had advice from HMRC.
Why not set an example?
Very clear she's done nothing wrong. And I think, Angela's been very clear. She's handled this matter in terms of putting out her position. She's answered the questions. I'm confident she's done nothing wrong. And frankly, I think all of the focus on this matter is an attempt to distract from the far bigger question here about the loopholes that we need to close to raise billions of pounds of public services.
I would love to ask you about what I think is actually quite a good plan, James Murray, to get £5 billion back, to try to claw some of that money back. I'd love to do a whole interview on that, but there are so many questions still for Angela Rayner.
I'm happy to do a whole interview on that. I'm happy to do a whole interview on that. I've got lots of detail to tell you about our plans that we developed with experts.
But the fact is, James,
by investing in HMRC capacity.
Is this morning media round talking to lots of broadcasters? Is this a frustrating experience for you, who's presumably put a lot of work into this? Yet, if basic questions were answered by Angela Rayner, if that advice was put into the public domain, if she did a few media interviews on it, for example, you could talk about this till you're blue in the face.